16 rows down and just a few steps over. This is where one horned frog sits during every home game at Kacey Carter Stadium. And during Saturday's game against Kansas, one thing made him go viral. But it wasn't something on the field, it was something in the stands. Trevor Deary has been playing percussion since he was in the 6th grade. He took that passion and joined the Horned Frog Marching Band.
This is my 3rd year in the marching band, so 3 years.
And this year he's taken that passion and 8 count further.
I love TCU football so much, and just like the energy that the games bring me, it just kind of translates to dance moves, I guess.
Those dance moves made him viral.
I'm not really used to getting all this attention. I just kind of do what I usually do at games that just so happen to be on video, so.
But it was, and now people are taking a notice to Deary and his love for the frogs. But Deary is more than just the TCU show guy.
Laid back, kind of guy. I'm easy to talk to. I'm always willing to help someone that's in need.
Add in his own favorite dance move.
The dab, I love dabbing.
And a whole lot of passion for the band.
It has allowed me to improve as a player and also as an educator, because I want to eventually teach band in my career, and so it's definitely helped with that.
And Deary said his time at TCU, playing for the band, and every opportunity he's encountered has been indescribable.
It's definitely been a journey for sure. I've grown a lot as a person, and I've learned more about myself and learned more about the world, and just expressed myself in a way that I thought wasn't possible.
And with a few games still left in the season, Deary said don't be surprised if you see some videos surface with some moves you haven't seen yet. Here in Kacey Carter Stadium, Kacey Bowen, TCU News Now. Tuesday marked the worst terrorist attack in New York since 9/11. At TCU, one student was thinking of her brother, while TCU police were thinking of preventative measures. 8 people are dead in what New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is calling a cowardly act of terror.
This was an act of terror, and a particularly cowardly act of terror aimed at innocent civilians, aimed at people going about their lives who had no idea of what was about to hit them.
This is what police know happened so far. Around 3 p.m. on Tuesday, a driver in a rented truck drove onto a bike path along the West Side Highway, a few blocks away from the One World Trade Center. He drove for about 10 blocks, hitting bicyclists and pedestrians before colliding with a school bus. After the collision, sources says the truck driver exited the vehicle with a pellet and a paintball gun. Police fired at the driver, hitting him in the stomach.
I want to say that today there was a loss of innocent life in Lower Manhattan.
While Lower Manhattan is more than 1,500 miles away from TCU, for some students, that doesn't lessen the impact.
Very nervous for a good 10-15 minutes, and when he texted me, it was like relief completely.
Senior Emma McAlucky's brother works in Manhattan, and she said when she saw the news on social media, she panicked.
I mean, everything you'd expect. I was nervous. Maybe he was there. Maybe something happened to him. Maybe he was helping others. I wasn't really sure. Just, your mind goes to panic.
McAlucky said with the amount of attacks happening nowadays, people are finding themselves in the same situation.
I think that everyone has a connection to someone somehow. Maybe it's no one close. Maybe it's your brother, your best friend. But anywhere an attack can happen, the world's so small these days that you probably know someone, so it makes it that much closer to home.
TCU PD says the attacks in New York shed light on safety measures they've been planning since the spring.
In the spring semester, we started looking at security measures for special events and the campus in general in response to some suggestions from the Department of Homeland Security.
These suggestions included preventative measures such as portable barriers when there are high periods of pedestrian traffic.
A lot of bollards around campus, if you'll notice, that are designed for that purpose to minimize vehicular traffic where we have a large number of pedestrians walking.
While TCU PD is taking preventative measures to ensure the safety of students, Officer Rangel said it's important for students to remember to enjoy life and not live in fear of something like the attack in New York happening here.
Statistically, the possibility of something like happening on campus is relatively low. So we don't want people walking around in emotional distress because they think they're going to be a victim that day of someone doing that.
The police and FBI are continuing to question the suspect. While he claimed to be a part of ISIS, ISIS has not claimed responsibility for the attack. According to the U.S. Department of Health, celiac disease, which limits someone's intake of gluten, affects 1 out of 100 people. But more and more people are cutting this food out of their diet because of non-dietary restrictions. I talked to one horned frog about her decision to cut it out.
Like stepping on a scale for a weigh-in and not knowing what number is going to show up was just like unpredictable.
But the diet Megan Kirshner used for training in high school soon became the baseline for her new lifestyle.
I've decided that it's something that I'd rather live without and feel good about than something that I'm like willing to suffer for.
Kirshner is dairy and gluten-free, a switch she made her senior year in hopes to make nationals for rowing.
My coaches asked if I would be willing to like lose weight to be a part of the lightweight boat. And at the time I was 137 pounds, and in order to be lightweight you have to be less than 130 pounds.
Kirshner said even though the diet is strict, she learned a lot about how her body functions.
It was just crazy how much like inflammation I had that I didn't know about, and how my body was able to like start using my own like fat in my body for energy.
And Dr. Gina Hill said it's okay for students to take part in these diets as long as they're mindful of what they are or aren't putting into their bodies.
For some people, it really may make them feel better, and that's okay as long as they're making sure they get all of the nutrients that they need from other sources.
And Kirshner said she's aware of that, making sure she always fills her plate the right way.
It was more when I found that I was eating like repeatedly bad like trigger foods that I was like, all right, this is something that my body just doesn't like, and something I shouldn't put in my body because I want my body to, I don't know, respect me.
Dr. Hill says the trend to eat clean, cutting out dairy and gluten, has become easier because of the accessibility in stores and restaurants.
What was out on the market initially, as far as gluten-free breads and baked goods and things like that, really weren't as good as they are now.
But while Kirshner isn't looking at her diet as a trend, she has one piece of advice for people who are.
Food is made to be fuel. It's not something that like you should compare yourselves to. Like my friends would be like, oh, are you trying to lose weight? It's so much more about how we respond to it than about your image.
Students who have dietary restrictions or are looking for a lifestyle without gluten or dairy can take their appetite to the King Family Commons, which has new dining choices available to meet those requirements.